Okay, so what if I told you an ancient kitchen practice could solve two of your biggest modern-day headaches? Well, today we're exploring how fermentation and pickling can do just that.
Does this sound familiar? You go to the grocery store and wow, the prices just seem to keep going up. And then by the end of the week, you find yourself throwing out those sad wilted veggies you just never got around to using. It's this super frustrating cycle, right? You're wasting food and you're wasting money. But what if there was a way to break that cycle for good?
Well, the solution isn't some new fancy kitchen gadget. Nope, it's a simple, really powerful technique that our ancestors perfected centuries ago. We are talking about the magic of preservation. So, the whole idea here is actually pretty powerful. You preserve seasonal produce when it's at its peak and when it's cheap and everywhere, and you basically lock in that value. You can slash your grocery bills and cut down on food waste in a huge way. Think of it like a total transformation. You're not just stopping food from going bad, you're actively creating something brand new and delicious. We're talking tangy, flavorful foods that are also, by the way, incredibly good for you. Now, to really unlock all these benefits, we gotta understand a key difference. A lot of people use the words pickling and fermenting like they're the same thing, but they're not. As you're about to see, they are fundamentally different processes. Okay, so here's the big difference. On the left, you've got vinegar pickling. That's all about creating a sterile environment. The acid in the vinegar, it kills all the bacteria to preserve the food. But lactofermentation, on the right, that's the complete opposite. It's a living process. It actually encourages beneficial bacteria to grow, which not only preserves the food, but creates something amazing, probiotics. So what are probiotics, really? They're live, beneficial bacteria, and they are absolutely fantastic for your health. I mean, research shows they can boost your immune system, improve your digestion, they can even help your body absorb more nutrients from all the other foods you eat. Here's a really great way to think about it. Imagine your gut is like a garden. Probiotics, they're the helpful plants. They create this healthy, balanced ecosystem that keeps the weeds, the bad bacteria, from taking over. It's such a simple idea, but it has a huge impact on how you feel. So, you ready to give this a shot? The absolute perfect place to start is with a classic beginner's project, sauerkraut. It's almost impossible to mess up, and believe it or not, all you need are two simple ingredients. And the best part is, you don't need any fancy equipment. For real. You just need some glass jars, the right kind of salt, we're talking non-iodized sea salt or kosher salt, and some kind of weight. And you can totally make your own weight with a small jar or even a Ziploc bag full of water, just like you see here. All right, if you remember just one number from this whole explainer, please make it this one, 2%. That is the magic salt to cabbage ratio, by weight. Why? Well, that precise amount of salt is just enough to kill off any bad bacteria while creating the perfect home for the good guys, the lactobacillus, to thrive. It's the absolute key to successful sauerkraut. The process itself is wonderfully simple. First, you just thinly slice up your cabbage. Then, you add that all-important 2% salt. Now for the fun part. You get your hands in there and massage it for about 10 to 15 minutes. You'll literally feel the cabbage start to soften and release its own natural brine. And finally, you just pack it all tightly into a jar and make sure that liquid completely covers the top. Then you just leave it at room temperature to do its thing. Now, how long it takes really depends on how warm your kitchen is and how tangy you like it. I'd say start tasting it after about 3 days. Once it tastes perfect to you, just pop it in the fridge to stop the fermentation. Of course, the number one question every single beginner asks is, how do I know this is actually safe to eat? And that's a totally valid concern. So let's break down exactly what to look for so you can tell the good from the bad. Okay, pay close attention here. On the left, you see something called calm yeast. It's white, it can be kind of flat or wavy, and it's completely harmless. You just skim it off the top and you're good to go. On the right, though, that is mold. Notice how it's blue, green, or black, and most importantly, it's fuzzy. If you see fuzz, there is no saving it. The whole batch has to go. Just remember, fuzz is the big red flag. But what's even better? Let's talk prevention. The single most important rule is to keep everything submerged under that brine. You see, that liquid layer creates an anaerobic or oxygen-free environment. And since mold needs oxygen to grow, this one simple step is your absolute best defense. Now, what if you don't have weeks to wait around for fermentation? Hey, no problem. Let's talk about quick pickles for that instant gratification. Just remember, these are not fermented, so you won't get those probiotics. This could not be easier. Step 1, thinly slice up some cucumber and red onion, or really any crunchy vegetable you have lying around, and just pack them into a jar.
Step 2 is making your brine. You just heat up a simple mix of vinegar, water, salt, and a little bit of sugar in a pot until everything dissolves. And by the way, you can use pretty much any kind of vinegar you like for this.
And finally, you just pour that hot brine right over the vegetables in the jar. Let the whole thing cool down on the counter for a bit, and then stick it in the fridge. They're actually ready in as little as an hour, but trust me, they are way better the next day.
So let's just recap the big wins here, right? You're saving money on groceries, you are seriously cutting down on your food waste, you're improving your gut health with all those natural probiotics, and you're creating some incredibly delicious food right there in your own kitchen.
So just remember this. This is not some complicated scientific process that needs a lab. It's a timeless, foundational human skill our ancestors perfected. If they could do it, so can you. The only real question left is, what are you going to put in your first jar?